was the toughest time for us. Wiser did a commercial dubbing me the king of nightlife, from Hollywood to coming to Vietnam and kind of bringing that kind of Western mindset. And now everything just kind of stopped. I just didn't know what to do because I had this like whole direction that I was going toward. Hey, that's not happening. We're fast forward. Now I'm in esports and gaming.
Welcome to the Seven Figure Business Podcast, where we interview extraordinary entrepreneurs from around the world who are growing, thriving businesses and making a lasting impact. I am your host, Linh, Podetti, founder of Outsourcing Angel and a proud member of Entrepreneurs Organization, EO, a global community of over 19,000 business founders dedicated to growth, learning and making a difference. Now, in this episode, we dive into the inspiring journey of TK, an entrepreneur who has seamlessly transitioned from the nightlife scene in Hollywood to pioneering esports in Vietnam. Join us as TK shares his story of embracing change, the influence of his entrepreneurial father, and his mission to elevate Vietnam on the global stage through esports. Discover how TK's passion for creating unforgettable experiences has led to the success of Skylight, a rooftop beach club, and his exciting new venture in the gaming industry. Tune in for an engaging conversation filled with insights, challenges, and the drive to make a meaningful impact. Welcome to the show, TK. So great to be talking to an entrepreneur from Vietnam, because I am from Vietnam and it's such a privilege to have you.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm very thankful to have you invite me on here.
We were talking, we have so much in common, but let's just start talking about your journey in business and how you got into this really cool industry. Because I told my son, I have a 22-year-old son, I'm like, I'm going to interview someone that's into games and there's a game sports. So anyway, take it away. Tell me a little bit about how you got started.
So my journey started in San Diego, California. I'm a Southern California boy, and I've been born and raised in the US. And I was always in like nightlife entertainment. That's kind of where I was able to kind of establish my entrepreneurial spirit. So I had a promotion company doing events and everything in San Diego. And then at 25, I took a leap of faith. I moved up to Hollywood, Los Angeles, So that's where we were doing events. And I was really lucky because I was able to just meet the right people. And I got really discovered by Moet Hennessy. So one of my mentors, his name is Tenny Mack. He actually was working with Belvedere, and there was a new position for Hennessy, and it was the ambassador role. And this is like 2010, 2011. So this is before social media like just completely changed how, people interacted, how people were going out and stuff. So it was a great opportunity for me to have like a corporate structure, but not like corporate hours. And it was really different. I was like the only like Asian person, I was the only Vietnamese person, that's for sure, that was like in this position. And there was 5 different ambassadors globally in all the major cities from New York to Las Vegas, Chicago, Miami, and I was in Hollywood. So that was like where I just got opened up to this whole new world. And it was an amazing opportunity because I'm like 25, 26 at the time, having this crazy expense account. And my job was literally to go out to the best nightclubs and just interact with people, create energy, create like this fun atmosphere, and be able to, get people to drink Hennessy. So that was just like something that opened up a lot of doors, like I said. And then it wasn't until right around, I was like 29 years old. And my dad, he's been in Vietnam for quite some time now. So he's been in Vietnam and he came back in the early 90s, right when Vietnam opened up. My parents are both Vietnamese. And so for him, it was like, hey, son, there's so much opportunity here in Vietnam. Vietnam is a, rising, it's like a rising economy. It's exciting to be a part of that growth. So, I had it pretty good in Los Angeles. So I was just like, oh, I'm kind of like good over here, Dad. So he was always trying to get me to come out to Vietnam. I came out when I was about 29 and I was just like, whoa, I was actually surprised. I'd been going back and forth maybe 4 or 5 times up until that point, just to visit my dad and everything. But then, seeing Vietnam and seeing how much it was growing every time I came back. And there was such a huge kind of opportunity for tourism. So for tourism, we were coming back with the intent, he was like, what is it that you want to do? And I was like, man, I've always been in this nightlife entertainment industry. I love people and I love creating experiences for people. And I would love to do something like that here in Vietnam. So we were going to do something maybe a boutique hotel or something that's going to try to bring people from all around the world to come and experience Vietnam and its culture. I don't know if you've been to Phu Quoc. It's a beautiful island in the Gulf of Thailand. but it's the biggest island here in Vietnam. And Nha Trang, Nha Trang is like a beach town, but Nha Trang was a bit more established. It already had like people already knew it as like the go-to beach destination for Vietnam. And if you're familiar with Vietnam, it's a long strip of beach. So Nha Trang is so beautiful. And so we were going back and forth and seeing the opportunity, and we saw, there's an amazing place in Nha Trang. And we were really fortunate to stumble upon this amazing rooftop. So I've been able to travel around Southeast Asia from Singapore to Bangkok to even Ho Chi Minh City. And each spot had like an iconic rooftop. And I was like, dude, dad, I was like, this is an amazing opportunity here. In Nha Trang, there was one spot that people knew about, which was called Sailing Club. It's an iconic beach club that's been around now for over 30 years. So for us, we saw this rooftop and I was like, oh, there's something that we could do here. So I pitched the idea to my dad. I was like, look, there's something that we could do here. I think it could really like
Your
change the
dad is
game
quite
here.
entrepreneurial. It sounds like your
Oh,
dad is
super.
that's
Yeah.
where
He's like the whole rags to riches, and he really instilled that entrepreneurial spirit in me when I was just like from a kid. For
mm,
him, it was always about me. He always wanted us to make sure we got our education because that was something that he didn't have, and he didn't have that opportunity, when he came to the US. So for him, it was like get your education and then go out there, learn and become your own boss, you know? So that
mhm,
was always kind of the mindset that he instilled in us. So we're here and we're looking at this rooftop and I'm like, dude, this is it. This is what we got to do, And at that time, I wasn't sure how this was going to work out. My dad was super nervous because for him, it was like, he's kind of like bringing his sons back, and we had been able to kind of build some success in the US through what I was doing with Hennessy and with the events company that I was doing. But then like, for him, it's like, oh, he doesn't know if this is going to work out or not. And like his biggest fear is like for us to fail and then that really like be able to kind of like, lose our confidence or like, it's tough. So, but at that time, I was like 30, 31 years old. I was just so excited. I was very naive. I just had this like, oh, we got to do it. We got to do it. I was just really gun ho. And, you just didn't know what you didn't know. So you're just really excited to take that leap of faith. And I had that saying, trust the journey. And that was
mhm,
always the kind of saying that I had in the back of my mind. So then we end up, meeting the owner of this hotel. It's right on the middle of this street called Tân Phu, right overlooking the ocean. And Nha Trang is beautiful because it's like surrounded by mountains. And then the front is a beautiful bay. So the
mm,
location was beautiful, but everyone said that we would fail because they're like, oh, everyone that's opened up anything there haven't really been able to be successful because Sailing Club was the place that everyone knew.
mm,
And, I loved what Sailing Club did, and they're an iconic place. And that's why people go to a beach destination like that, where you want to have drinks and party in the sand. But I wanted to create a different experience and kind of just like tweak it a little bit, right? So you're taking this beach experience. So we did was like, okay, taking the beach to new heights. So we're taking that same beach vibe. So we ended up opening up Skylight Rooftop Beach Club. So it still
uh-huh,
have the beach vibes, but you're kind of experience it from this like higher altitude. So you're 151 meters up and you're able to see the entire city. And at that point, there was nothing else like it. So it gave people a different perspective. People were coming up. It's amazing to see like sunset, have drinks, be in the open air. Now like, they're always doing like fireworks during Lunar New Year. You have to come back for that.
yeah,
It's
I
such
can't
a
wait.
great time. And they're
Mm,
shooting the fireworks right in the square. And that's like right next to us. So you're like actually looking down on the fireworks and stuff. So it's been a really great experience. We're really fortunate. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. We've welcomed over 2.2 million people in the 10 years. We've been
mhm,
able to host tons of events there, a lot of influential artists from Vietnam, some amazing DJs from overseas. And it really gave us an opportunity to kind of get our feet wet, do something together. And the best part was doing something that I loved with people that I love, you know? And that
with
was
your
something that
husband
was really
now
exciting.
or brother?
It was
Brother.
actually me and my brother. So my younger brother, we have this whole like visionary integrator. I know like everyone here at EO, they're very familiar with EOS. So I
Yes.
read Rocket Fuel. That was one of the first books that my mentor here, who's my business partner now, gave us when we first moved back to Vietnam. So,
Mm,
I've always been more of like the front of house, and he's been the back of house and everything. So we have a
yeah,
really great dynamic, and our investor's been my dad. So
love it.
it helps
Yep.
when so it's like it's a great kind of like tripod where my dad is like the entrepreneur, the investor. I'm kind of the artist. My brother's the manager leader. and it's a
Mm,
great team there. So,
mm,
we've been very thankful. But then all of a sudden, boom, COVID hits. And it's just like we're
mm,
going from like, New Year's Eve 2020, celebrating with 2,000 people at our rooftop. Fireworks are going off. It is, the highest revenue and sales that we've ever had. And it's like the ultimate high for me. And it's just like, okay, we're going to be expanding Skylight into multiple locations. We're looking at doing a beach club in Da Nang. And then boom,
mm,
COVID happens, right? So
mm.
I mean, like, I'm sure, I don't know about you, but we were literally thinking about like, oh, this is going to be like a month or a few weeks. You know what I mean? And then, like, next thing you know, we're a year into it. We end up having to close down for almost a year. And it was the toughest time for us because, like, my identity, I think, as entrepreneurs, our business becomes our identity.
Mm.
And for me, Budweiser did a commercial dubbing me the king of nightlife just because of my background from Hollywood to coming to Vietnam and kind of bringing that kind of Western mindset, a bit of that kind of Hollywood vibes, a little bit of Vegas, a little bit of beach vibes to Skylight. And now everything just kind of stopped. So it was tough. I felt so lost at the time. And I just didn't know what to do because I had this like whole direction that I was going towards. And then all of a sudden, like, hey, that's not happening. So that then now we're fast forward, it's like, okay, now I'm in esports and gaming. Right. And you're like, wait, what? How did you go from hospitality nightlife to esports and gaming? So, that's another story where
There's still a common denominator. You're into entertainment and people.
yes. 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 See, I love that you caught that. So for me, it was, I was sitting there and I felt so lost. I was actually sitting at my business partner and one of my mentors, his name is Randy Dobson. He's the chairman for CMG Asia. He founded California Fitness and a bunch of different businesses here in Vietnam, but he was one of the very successful entrepreneurs that was able to exit his business. And then he invested into NRG Esports in North America with his mentor right before COVID. And during COVID, you're seeing all the esports, everything is just at an all time high because everyone's at home, everyone's playing video games, or everyone's watching video games. So it was an exciting time where at first I was like, whoa, like, you're seeing these companies getting 200, 300, $400 million valuations,
Mm.
in North America, in Korea. So we're like, we're in Vietnam. When I look at Vietnam, I think about how, Vietnam, we're not going to be the most competitive in traditional sports
Yes.
like soccer or like basketball. But with esports and with gaming, it kind of levels the playing field where it's really like, it's not as physical. It's very mental, reactive speed. It's a lot of high speed problem solving, mathematics and stuff. So Vietnam, we're good at that.
Yes.
So, I was like, there's something here. Do you know where your son plays?
Then it was the gun shooting ones, and I don't know the
Yeah.
name. He was hooked. Like he's screaming in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. still playing. But luckily he kind of got out of it. He plays here and there, but he's still studying and get
Yeah.
work and all that. But a very
Yeah.
addictive time.
I mean, and I totally understand. It's something that, it's like anything. Like if you're playing basketball and you're addicted, you want to get better, and you're putting in the shots at the gym. Some people might say you're addicted, and you might be, but also with gaming. But all of it goes to having controls, having some balance. But, I think if you want to become a pro, you really have to be all in. You have to be super laser focused because there's a lot of people that play, but only that 1% ever become professional. So like, yeah, I would love to get into that with you too. But going back to like, I was talking to Randy. Randy's like, I've been sitting on this investment for quite some time. And he's like, you would be a perfect CEO, transitioning from like king of nightlife to king of esports entertainment. And I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. And I thought there was an opportunity. And one of the things though, really that was made me really excited about esports is, growing up in the US, I always wasn't proud to be Asian or
Mhm.
Vietnamese. And
Mm,
that's because I didn't see Vietnamese people, in the 90s being represented in mainstream, like, entertainment or culture. Like, I didn't see like Asians in, movies or on TV or in sports, even like businessmen, or
yeah,
women.
yeah. We're all on the media for the wrong reasons. Like in Australia, it was
Yes. Okay.
gangsters,
Okay.
drug life.
Yeah.
Like that was
Yeah.
what's happening. Yeah.
So I realize it's a quite a common thing, and I love to see now how Asians and Vietnamese people are being more represented more on the Western media and everything. That's awesome to see. So for me, not growing up really proud, I wanted to do something where I could make Vietnam proud. When we did Skylight, we wanted to create a destination that made Nha Trang, the city that we're in, proud. Like we had all of the government or people who had their friends coming to visit. They'd always take their friends and family and colleagues to Skylight because you want to show off this beautiful city, from the highest peak. And now going to esports, it's an opportunity for us to, help elevate these really raw, talented young kids.
Mm.
Um, have the right environment to really elevate their game so they could represent Vietnam. And we've been really fortunate. After starting, we were able to be Vietnam's representatives for the Southeast Asian Olympics. First
Mm.
time where esports was included, it was in 2022 and we won the first gold medal in esports for League of Legends. So
Oh,
that
wow.
was an amazing moment for us that, after jumping into this business with Randy and, using the blueprint that we had from North America with NRG, we were able to acquire this team, utilize that blueprint, kind of tweak it and make sure that it was a fit Vietnam and
Mm.
then build the ecosystem to help elevate the talent.
Yeah.
So for us, we were able to do that and then go to and represent. And the cool thing is that I get it. Like I'm not a parent yet, but I know a lot of parents are like, oh, my son is playing too much video games and things like that. But it's amazing how much you can learn through playing video games,
Yeah.
through whether it's communication, problem solving, how to win, how to lose, how to communicate with others because it's a game that's 5-on-5 and you're seeing the parents sitting front row watching their son playing and representing the country for the first time, being introduced as, oh, our national team, GAM Esports, and being able to compete against other countries. And we're really dominant for
Mm.
Southeast Asia, winning the gold. And the parents, everyone was crying. It was a beautiful moment. My dad was there with me. For him, he doesn't understand what's going on in the game, but
Mm.
he's just happy we won. So that was a very memorable moment. One of probably the best highlights for me. And one of the stories that I often share is one of the players who's been with us for more than 5 years now. His name is Kiaya. He grew up in a family with just little means, meaning like, he had to leave school in first grade to go sell lottery tickets. And this is a story that's been shared in the mainstream media and everything and to go support his family. So he ends up going to an internet cafe and playing League of Legends. Through gaming, he learns how to type, he learns how to communicate, he learns how to somewhat read, and he's been able to become this like influential kind of figure for the Gen Z. So last year he won the We Choice most influential Gen Z face for his
Wow.
story, going from not being able to read and write in first grade to playing the game, learning how to do so, becoming a absolute beast and like a very dominant player, and then now representing our country. Now we've represented at Asia Games, we've represented at the World Championship, been able to travel the world, playing against teams from around the world, represent Vietnam. And just like, when I want the kids here in Vietnam to see, Vietnamese people or
Yes.
Asians and stuff representing at the global stage, on stage, boom,
Yeah.
we're here. So it's awesome.
Wow, what a journey. So
Mm,
where you're at now, you still have the
nightclubs, the
nightclub
rooftop beach club.
still
Yes.
happening.
Yeah.
What happened? How did you get back into it while you also now have this other business? Was there a bit of a struggle with like managing two businesses?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I mean, very fortunate for us that, I have my brother, like I mentioned, he's been our integrator, right? So he's been really focused on our rooftop beach club, making sure Skyline is still running. We've been very fortunate to be able to, it's become a tourist destination. So anytime you go to Nha Trang, they have a saying in Vietnamese, if you've been in Nha Trang and you haven't been to Skylight, well, you haven't been to Nha Trang, right? So for us, it's like, okay, I'm very thankful that we've been able to create this destination. So it's been really great. We have guests 7 days a week. And then I've been able to kind of shift my focus and really go all in on esports entertainment and with GAM. So our company is called GAM, Gaming and Media Entertainment. So it's a play on words as well. The team has been around for 10 years, but we've acquired the team a little more than 4 years ago.
Yep.
So at the
Yep.
moment, we're bouncing all around. We this year our league. So our team was playing in the Vietnam domestic league, but now it's a tier one APAC Asia Pacific league. So there's 5 major leagues now. So it's North America, Europe, China, Korea, and now Asia Pacific. So
Mm.
we're actually playing out of Taiwan and
Mm.
Taipei. So
Yeah.
we have a office and a gaming house now in Taipei. So I'm bouncing around from Taipei to Ho Chi Minh City to Nha Trang. But I
Okay.
love it. And but it's because I have a great team. I have my brother who's been our integrator. He's holding down the fort with our rooftop beach club. And then I've been focused on the esports and gaming.
So are you and your brother also still a pack when it comes to the GAM business? You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's still part of it in a sense.
Yeah. So it's kind of like 80-20, right? So I'm 80% at GAM, 20% with Skylight, providing some of my creativity, giving, being more of the visionary leader. I'll come in, do trainings, and, light a fire, give some energy to the team. My brother will be the opposite. He would be 80% Skylight, 20% at GAM. And it was kind of complement each other in that way. So it's, I'm very thankful to have that, but it definitely gets tough at times. You're juggling a lot of things, and for me, I have like ADD, so I'm like all over the place. So I need proper systems and someone to help me kind of like keep me focused and everything. Right.
Yeah.
So
So just
yeah.
curious with the gaming industry, like how
Hmm.
do you make in that? Is it sponsorship? Is
Mm,
it the work? The players win a lot of money from what I understand.
yeah. I mean, these guys are young guys and they're making a substantial amount of money, especially compared to just the average person here in Vietnam. They could be making 10 to 20x the average income. So for esports in general, the biggest revenue streams, the traditional model before would be sponsorship, prize pool. Those are the main. We have merchandise, we do events, and those would kind of be the primary revenue streams. But now we're looking at expanding into how do we utilize the platform and the community that we have to drive them to something else that's going to be able to generate revenue. So we're looking at consumer products, but also looking at now with blockchain technology and everything, like how do we there's teams we're looking at, how do we tokenize our fan base, how do we maybe provide fractional ownership of a team and how you have voting rights, so trying to find different creative ways to utilize modern and new technology to tap into our fan base and to grow that community.
Yeah.
So there's
Okay.
different ways but it's basically, even though it's in esports, it's actually a media company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're monetizing on eyeballs. So we're
Mm.
creating content. I'm launching my podcast called Game Changers as well. So that is basically like the vehicle is esports. We're expanding into new teams. So
Mm.
we have a mobile team coming up that will be playing mobile games, which is really popular, especially here in Southeast Asia. And then we have our League of Legends team that's playing on PC. So you're building out your community and then using that community to kind of monetize and build off of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about your dad. He seems very inspirational. I come from a family that was very opposite to you. My parents were like, blue collar workers who had no dream and also didn't believe that dreams could happen and then they weren't entrepreneur at all. So, what was it that your dad did that made you and your brother still so motivated, considering he was entrepreneurial, he had money to help you, and yet you wanted to carve your own path? What were some
Yeah.
learnings that you got from him?
I mean, my dad's always been my mentor, like my biggest kind of hero. He has an amazing story and all the sacrifices that him and my mother had to make for us to kind of live a better life. So he's always been a visionary person where he was always taking risks. I think when I look at him, I see how many times he's pivoted and he's been able to be flexible, whatever he's doing. When he first came to the US, he was a tailor because that was a skill that he knew in Vietnam that he learned from his mom.
Mhm.
So in the beginning, my parents were tailors. Like he went to different dry cleaners and tell them, hey, we could do your alterations. and just
Mm.
hustling, him and my mom, and then he pivoted. And when he saw kind of like where that could lead him, there was a kind of like a ceiling, but he wanted something more. So then he pivoted, and then he ended up selling furniture in South what is it, in Southern California was really big, especially in the Vietnamese community. So my father was one of the ones that pioneered, the furniture movement with the Vietnamese community. And then my mom was doing nails, very typical. I'm sure, like, we've heard,
Yeah.
we, a lot of Vietnamese people do nails and everything, right? So, like, he was just always entrepreneur, but he was always pushing himself and seeing how far he could take it. He was
Mm.
able to expand to like multiple furniture stores in San Diego. He was, considered a successful Vietnamese, considering that, he's like an immigrant that coming from Vietnam and finding his own path. But when Vietnam opened back up, he went back to Vietnam. And he just saw the opportunity, and what he saw there was just that, oh, like there was just so much that Vietnam didn't have. So how could he come back and contribute and help, like, elevate Vietnamese people during that time? Because when he came back, he was like, there was nothing there. There was not much. And he's always been a risk taker. He always took calculated risks, but he wasn't afraid to take that leap of faith and, fail. So one of the things that I really learned from my dad was just being able to learn how to pivot, learn how to, not get too comfortable. How are you going to constantly push yourself? So those are some of the things that
Yeah.
he would always instill in us from an early age.
Yeah. So it was mainly from watching him, or was it that he consciously took you along and kind of coached you along the way? Or were you just sitting there observing, and you and your brother both, I guess, learnt the same lessons? Because often in a family, you could have
Yeah.
one that kind of go, because of that, I'm going to try harder. But someone could
Yeah.
look at that and go, well, I don't have to do anything because you've got it all sorted for me, right? And so
Yeah.
it was interesting
Yeah.
how it.
No, that's a great. So I think for us, it was definitely, we learned by watching him. That was probably the most impactful, but it was the things that he shared along the way. He always made us believe in that we could do anything. I remember taking trips like for Lunar New Year, before Lunar New Year, before that, we would always take these like father and son trips, because during that time, it was a period where, he had come back, and then we would see him less and less. But, he always framed it for us, because we lived in San Diego. It's like, just pretend I'm like some of your other friends. I'm in the military and I'll be back in like 6 months. I was like, all right, cool. So it wasn't unusual. It was normal to me. He always was present. He was always checking in on us, and he was always very intentional with like the messaging that he shared with us.
Mm.
I think for him, like when we would go to, I remember going to Singapore for one of the first times, and this is like when I was already like in college. We would take these trips before Lunar New Year. So we would travel around Southeast Asia, and then we would come back to Vietnam for that and to be able to celebrate in Hanoi and stuff. So I remember looking at Marina Bay stands, and then he's like, this is beautiful. I'm like, this is amazing. It felt like we were in the future. We said, look, somebody built that, like a human, just like you. It's like everybody here, we all have two eyes, two ears, and one mouth,
Mm.
two hands. But it's like, it's up to you, to what you do with it. So he
Mm.
was always encouraging us and instilling like this, like, you could do anything kind of mentality, and that's something that kind of stuck with us. Like when I look at, going back to Vietnam, yeah, I'm very fortunate that I had my dad as a foundation, but what we were doing, like, everyone said that we were going to fail,
Mm.
not, what we were doing hadn't been done before, in a sense,
Mm.
right? For Nha Trang. So
Mm.
we were able to kind of utilize what we had learned, all the experience that I had in nightlife entertainment, from doing events in San Diego to Los Angeles to Hollywood
Mm.
to Las Vegas, and then being able
Yeah.
to kind of take those bits and pieces of what I've learned and kind of put it together. So I think that's some of the main things that my father has really kind of instilled in us, is that we could do anything as long as we go after it, and take that leap of
Yeah.
faith and don't be afraid to fail. And I think that's important for any entrepreneur, right? We're taking leaps of faith all the time.
He explained to you and, gave you that perspective of being able to achieve. And that's what I just grew up thinking. I'm like, hang on, everyone's got arms and legs. Why am I so, like, how can they be that any different? And I love that
Hmm.
he did that to you. Looking back at your nightclub time, what would
Hmm.
be
memorable challenge or memorable key learning that you experienced that you could share with us?
Man, there's so many, but like one of the ones that just like came straight to mind is just that for us, when we first came back, you're you want to give an experience that the people that like our staff had never. So if we wanted our staff to give a 5-star experience, but
Mm.
they've never been to a 5-star hotel or restaurant.
Mm.
So it's like, it's really hard to give something that you've never experienced.
Mhm.
So that was one of the biggest challenges. We're explaining to them this and that, but they didn't understand why. We actually had to fly. So we invested into a bar in Hollywood with one of our business partners, Lock and Key in Koreatown. We would fly our bartenders to Nha Trang and they would stay with us for 4 to 8 weeks and they would be training our staff. When we
Mm.
came back in 2014 to do the bar, like back then in Vietnam, a bartender only made drinks. A
Mm.
cashier would only take money. A server would only take orders. But we wanted that person to be all in one, meaning the bartender, if you're used to going to a cocktail or mixology bar, you're taking orders, you're talking to the guests, you're making drinks, you're taking the money, that's all in one. And they're like, wait,
Mhm.
what do you mean you want me to do that? That's the job of 3 people. I was like, no, that's the job of like, a world-class bartender. But they
Mm.
couldn't understand. So we actually had to bring, and then you would see our like, bartenders from Lock and Key, from Hollywood, being able to serve like, 40 people by himself, money, taking orders, this, that. And so that once you saw it, you knew that it was achievable. And that was something that became such a big lesson. And another story that's similar to that would be, we were doing bottle service like presentations. So if you go to a nightclub, you order a bottle, you're sitting at the VIP table. We want you to feel special. We want, to shine a spotlight on those guests. So we have signs of people coming out and it's basically like, it says, welcome to Skylight or whatever, right? And now you'll see that every nightclub that, 10 years ago in Vietnam, nobody was doing it, right? So we spell out people's names. We'll say, welcome Linh to
Yeah.
Skylight. And so when we first told our hostess, because they just thought they just greet people at the door, but we wanted them to almost like be part of the show, where when the
Mm.
bottle comes, they're walking out with them, they're smiling, they're dancing, they're giving this great energy. Our guests are going to be wanting to take out their photos, they're going to take pictures, post on social media, and it's a full experience. But they had no idea why we wanted them to do it. So when they first walked out, they were so awkward. They were just like, why are we here?
That's
Like it
right.
was so awkward. We had our friend, she came from Las Vegas. She came and she was like out there, like, having fun and like making the guests feel welcomed. And then all of a sudden the guests started tipping. And then the girls were like, oh, I see. You
Mm.
know what I mean? So
Mm.
going to a different country, doing something that, people hadn't seen or experienced before, there's a lot of challenges where you're trying to educate your team on an experience that you're trying to create.
Yeah.
So the best way, it's like, it's hard to give something that you've never
Yeah,
received or
that's a really
invest something
great
that you don't
lesson.
have.
I love that you really took the training so serious because it's really hard to just be theory and telling them, and you're bringing in the real people there and
Yeah.
demonstrate. So that's really great.
Yeah.
What was it like moving to Vietnam? Did you intend to actually stay for good? And how's your living arrangement now? Are you permanently a Vietnamese citizen?
Yeah. I mean, if you would have asked me when I was at my height with working with Hennessy and like being at all these amazing events, rubbing shoulders with like celebrities and A-listers and stuff, I never thought I would live in Vietnam. Right. But, it's crazy how life happens. And, it's been the best decision I've ever made. When I look back at my time in Los Angeles and in Hollywood, I'm very thankful for all the lessons, all the people that I was able to meet. But coming to Vietnam, it's like Vietnam is such an exciting place to be where the economy, everything is growing so fast. You're seeing it change like, every year, and it's exciting to be a part of that growth.
Mm.
When I first came to Nha Trang, it's like there was like 4 or 5 tall buildings. It was the Sheraton, the Intercontinental, some major hotels. Now you look down the coastline and it's like you're in Miami. It
Mm.
looks beautiful when you're there they have these sunset cruises and stuff. I did one a few months ago, and we're sitting there, we're looking back at the skyline during sunset. I'm like, man, if someone would have told me this was Nha Trang, I would never believe you. And it's
Mm.
incredible to see how much Vietnam is growing, and it's just it's a beautiful time. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very thankful to be here. I've kind of like found my little when we were in Nha Trang, it's a beach town. It's very transient. So a lot of the friends and the people that we were connecting with, whether they were Vietkieu like yourself or foreigners that were just working in Nha Trang in the tourism or hospitality industry, but we had friends going in and out, you know. But now I'm in Ho Chi Minh City. We're living in Thao Dien. It's such a beautiful community. It's a huge expat community here. So now I feel like I have a home. And that's
Hmm.
been really nice. And now, like, you have a great group of friends. And it's just now, this is home for me. It's been home for 11 years now. And I don't see myself. I love visiting. I'm going to be visiting New York next week. But, it's, this is home.
Yeah. So, when you spoke about your dad, all of a sudden realizing his purpose was to, elevate Vietnam, and you kind of started speaking a little bit about that, about how you love putting Vietnam on the mark. Is this you've discovered now? Is this your purpose? Like, I guess, what's your future? What is your outlook in the next 10, 20 years?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely, I want to bring the best of the world to Vietnam and then bring the best of Vietnam to the world.
Wow.
So I think that's something that it really resonates with who and my mission and what I want to do with my life. Right now with esports, it's giving me an opportunity to help elevate this young talent and really unite and inspire the youth here in Vietnam through esports and gaming, through storytelling, sharing the stories of these players and what they go through. I mean, when you look at these players, the youth look at them as their, David Beckham or their Cristiano Ronaldos, that
Mm.
those are their heroes.
Yeah.
So I think the esports and gaming is such a huge thing and a huge opportunity. And now the government's really getting behind it. You're having big conglomerates. We're working with the biggest companies here in Vietnam, from FPT to Vietjet. We've worked with, Vin Group in the past. So it's really
Mm.
exciting to see getting support from both the private and public sector, because I think they see this as an opportunity to really elevate the youth and tap into the youth.
That's
But
amazing.
now I'm launching a podcast, and I would love to have you on as well, called Game Changers. So it's a play on words. It's Game Changers, like GAM, which is our
Love it.
team.
Yeah.
But it's like, talking to different people from around the world who have kind of changed the game in their own industry.
Mm.
So, I want to have different people coming that can tap into the Vietnamese youth and the audience that we have here so that they're being inspired.
Yeah.
Going back to kind of like some of the childhood where I didn't see other Asian faces or Vietnamese people. I didn't get to learn, oh, I didn't realize that they're going through the same thing I'm going through, or, they have the same problems, or, oh, they made it and I could see myself in them and it makes me believe in myself. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping to use this platform very purposefully to unite and inspire the youth in Vietnam, but just around the world and specifically here in
Yeah.
Southeast Asia.
I love that. I'm not sure about you, but when I first thought about business, I really just thought about making money and making sure that I, thrive for myself. And then as you go into
Absolutely.
business decades, you start to go, no, I'm on this earth to make an impact. Would love to hear, I guess, in what part of your life did you realize, hang on, no, business isn't the same as what I originally thought?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question. Maybe, it was, obviously you get into business because you want to make money, you want to provide a better lifestyle for yourself, for your family, and those around you. I definitely think that's very important. But it's definitely more meaningful when you do a business that you love and doing it with the people that you love. And I loved the feeling that I had when I was working at Skylight. It
Mm,
was because it was a new venture, something that, like, I didn't know if we were going to succeed or fail. I felt I was confident, but, going into it, but waking up every day and then being able to see my brother here, my dad was around, working with my business partner, Cyrus. And it's just that team. And it's just like, man, I'm going to battle, going to war with these guys every
mm,
day to make sure that we create, this amazing experience for everybody that comes to visit us from around the world.
mm,
That feeling is something that, I think, we made lots of great money, but you realize that, like, the money is part of it, but it's like, how do you have that, what is it? The art and science of fulfillment and achievement,
mm,
that I forgot, there's a saying where it's like, there's a lot of people who have achieved a lot, but they don't feel fulfilled. So achievement meaning making a lot of money, but you're not getting that fulfillment. I was
mm,
able to get that fulfillment, every night when I came up on stage. I was like the hype man at Skylight for the longest time, 7 days a week on the microphone, getting everybody dancing and having fun. And, that was, I see people having the time of their lives. They could have been anywhere in the world, but they came here. They came to celebrate their birthday, their anniversary, their wedding, da da da, at Skylight. And I don't take that for granted. And I want to make sure they all walk away with an amazing memory. But now
Mm,
moving to esports, it's given me even a greater purpose because it's not just about us, not about just Nha Trang, but it's
mm,
something now where it's like, I think with the thing that as I'm talking to you now that I'm realizing is with the whole Skylight and with our rooftop beach club, there was a lot of ego with it for me, meaning that it was a platform for me to do my thing.
yeah.
With esports, yes, there's opportunities for me, but it's more about being the guide now because I'm in a later part of my life, I think, where I want the players, this youth to shine. And I'm the one that's going to be kind of helping them, providing them the background, the support to kind of elevate them so that they could be the best version of themselves, so that they could be the best, so that they can represent us, represent Vietnam and bring home a championship. You know what I mean? So
I
that excites me. And I'm also doing it with my brother. I'm also doing it with my business partner, Randy, who's a brother, mentor. So all of that has just it's been exciting.
I love that. And what is your secret tip on working with family so smoothly and excitedly? Because I know many people struggle with that.
It is not easy, let's for sure, right? But but the way with my dad, I had to reframe it because we would get into arguments all the time, right?
Mm,
And I had to reframe it where it's like, I know that he's doing whatever he is being hard on me because he wants me to be the best that I can be. So he's all about tough love. And the reason why he's saying it is because, like Steve Harvey said this quote where the only man that wants you to do better than him is your father. And I was like, dude, that's deep. You know what I mean? I'll get emotional talking about it. But so I know that my dad just wants us to be better than him. He wants us to be the best that we can be. So everything that he's doing is for us. So even though we're fighting, it's just like, hey, you know what? We need to align on the outcome. We might have a
mm,
different way of getting there, but as long as we align on the outcome, and I remind myself that, hey, he's just doing this for us. He doesn't need anything. He could just retire and hang out and then, do his thing, go up to Skylight. He's a part of our guest relations team with the ladies. So if anybody comes up, they're single, they're by themselves, it's his job to make sure they have a good time, Let him focus on that. He doesn't need all this other headache, right? But, I think once I kind of understood that, that helped me where it's like, I didn't take things personal. It wasn't personal. Where he's just trying to help me get better. So that really
mm,
was a big shift. With my brother, though, I think I'm very fortunate where, we are super close. And because we read the book Rocket Fuel, that really helped us. And that's a part of, I think, because this is an EO podcast, I know Gene Wickman is part of EO. So I love all
mm,
the EOS. I've read all the books. And, Rocket Fuel was the first book that our business partner, Randy, had given us. He's like, you guys got to read this because this is going to help you too. Because before we kind of be stepping on each other's feet and everything. And we didn't have a framework that helped us to really excel or we didn't know what was right. We'd never done this before. But having framework gives us a path, gives us a guide that we can use. And then we're not blaming each other, but it's like, oh, hey, this is what the book said, or this is what the framework
mm.
is. So it's not like who's right or wrong. We're just following this. So it's like a party mediator in a sense, right? So that's really helped me. It's tough doing business with family, but I think I'm very fortunate that, we're a good team and we've been able to have some clarity, but I'm not saying it's easy, but yeah, if you
I
can,
love
it's great.
Yeah, yeah. It's great that you
Yeah.
shared some insight to that because it did sound, it was just like, I love them. I work with them. It just sounds so smooth. And
Oh,
I'm glad.
we're always going at it and stuff. But it's a good thing. We're challenging each other to be better. And that's just how you frame it. We try to let the ego down.
Love it, and I totally can resonate with my dad. He's so hard on me, but I've got to the point where I've healed myself, and I understood that
Yeah.
that's just him, and that's his way of showing love because he just
Yeah.
scared of fail. So my dad's opposite, scared of failure. So he actually stops you from trying so that you don't fail. But
Mm.
that's his style.
But
Anyways,
he's trying to protect you, right?
yeah,
He's trying to
yeah,
protect you, right? So
yes,
that's his way of showing love and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That could be a whole nother podcast. Some therapy or there for both of
Or,
us.
and we always have to deal with our undealt trauma because often we haven't healed that and we could be triggered for the wrong way. We could still trying to prove our dad right, wrong.
Yeah.
So because our parents are always, especially Vietnamese, very hard on us, and we're always
Yeah.
feeling like we're not loved. Anyways,
Yeah.
yes, like I said, another topic for another day. As we wrap up, I would love to ask you this question. So, you mentioned that you're doing it now for the kids to have a platform to grow. What would you like the kid to be saying about you? If 12 months from now, you were gone from this earth, what would you wish that they have realized and think of you?
Wow. I think if, our fans or just the, esports community, if they were to be able to look at me and say, oh, wow, came in, he really changed the game with his energy. He brought a sense of positivity and he was really able to uplift the esports community here in Vietnam and really shine a global light on, Vietnam. I think that would mean the world to me. And, that's what I'm trying to do. I wished I had this kind of person when I was younger that was shining this light. That person ended up being my father.
Mm,
So
yeah.
yeah, dude, that
Yeah.
got me choked up. Ooh.
Love that.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
Well, thank you so much. Where
yeah.
do people connect with you? Where are you hanging out online?
Yes, on Instagram or LinkedIn, it's TK Win, so Nguyen.
Yes.
And for Instagram socials, I think you hopefully you can share it in the comments and stuff. But thank you so much for having me today. It was great to share. Great to go down memory lane. It's been a fun 10, 11-year journey. It's still going to be continuing. I still got to keep trusting the journey, and I'm
Yeah.
excited for what's next.
I am so proud to have a Vietnamese friend like you. You are making Vietnamese proud. And I can't
Yeah.
wait to go to Nha Trang and visit your nightclub. But I
Yes.
hope some non-alcoholic drink because, I don't drink
No,
alcohol.
we do. I've cut back on drinking. I know you shared your sobriety journey with me, and I'm very proud of you for that. I think that's an amazing thing. So keep that up. We will
All
definitely
right.
have coconuts, fresh coconuts,
Okay.
right
Love it.
there. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much, TK. I will catch you another time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you guys.